What's up everybody, Corey with Freaky Tech Reviews here. You probably already know this, but Microsoft just received the green light to acquire Activision Blizzard for $69 billion. And instead of just talking about the details of this buyout, I want to discuss how this affects the landscape of gaming. Because this means Game Pass is about to get real spicy. In a deal that started back in January of 2022, Microsoft fought through 20 months of regulatory battles in both the UK and US to eventually defeat the FTC in a court case for the ages. Sony also had a major bone to pick with this because with the recent releases like Call of Duty's Modern Warfare 2 bringing in $1 billion on its release weekend, Microsoft completely owning major franchises could seriously hurt PlayStation's revenue. And while Microsoft promised that COD games will still be available for Sony and Nintendo, this is still a concern for those other platforms. Because Microsoft already showed their hand with their acquisition of Bethesda back in 2021. And you can see this with the latest release of Starfield only being accessible on Xbox and PC. And I've said this before, but imagine if another Bethesda title performs as well as Skyrim has. With lifetime sales over 60 million copies, Skyrim is at the #7 best-selling games of all time list. Now, obviously Skyrim could not have done that without being playable on nearly every platform known to humans, but this is exactly why Microsoft not having as many exclusives is a big deal. Because they will have more purchases across platforms, whereas a platform like PlayStation can only have those games on a PlayStation. But also, let's imagine a hypothetical scenario where Bethesda titles are only available on Xbox and PC for their first 6 months after release, and then they're able to go to other consoles. If you apply that kind of a head start to something like Call of Duty, where it's intensely popular until the next annual release comes out, that would force everyone to consider getting an Xbox or playing on PC, completely taking away that crowd from Sony. This kind of power is a bit unsettling. Now, of course, a lot of what I'm saying here is speculative, but I think the main concern is the domination of a company. Competition is very healthy for the gaming industry, and while I won't dive too far back into what PlayStation versus Xbox look like I've done in previous videos, the Microsoft exclusive list has now grown rapidly. But PlayStation is very far ahead of Xbox in console sales, and this will continue with the recent news of the redesigned system releasing for 2023's holiday season, and also Sony has the lead on exclusive games with 299 to Xbox's 59 before the acquisition. So as of right now, Sony is just plain winning on the gaming perspective, because if you look at their annual gaming revenue, it far surpasses Microsoft's. So it's actually a good thing to see Xbox doing such aggressive moves to make sure that they stay competitive with Sony. Now on the other side of this, how will Game Pass change subscription-based games like World of Warcraft? WoW has been a subscription model for over 19 years for about $15 a month, but with Game Pass already having a subscription service, how will this be affected? That's something that I'm very curious about. But if we look at how they handled EA Play on Game Pass, which is another subscription service from EA, it's available for PC Game Pass but not on Xbox. But the main point is that you have access to a subscription service while you're signed up for Game Pass. Microsoft will obviously still want to make money off of WoW, and without a subscription service, they might have to turn to things like microtransactions or DLCs, or maybe even add a separate playable add-on for Game Pass and subscription games. I don't know how well that would work out, but because Game Pass itself is between $10 to $17 a month, and WoW has been $15 a month for a long time, it wouldn't make business sense to stack those monthly payments, right? I'm not really sure, and I couldn't find a lot on this topic, but I do find it an interesting thought that could breathe new life into a dinosaur of a video game. But speaking of breathing life into older games, I am excited to see what Microsoft will do with other series that are long overdue for an update. For instance, while we did get a recent Tony Hawk update, I'd love to see more attention to that series, as they were a huge part of my childhood. And also, it would be great to see a modern spin on Guitar Hero. For instance, if you look at some of the musical capabilities from the recent Quest 3, and then Game Pass already being on the Quest 3 and available, I'd love to see how they can merge that type of technology and create an all-new type of Guitar Hero or Rock Band type of game. And I'm also curious on how Microsoft will handle some of Blizzard's recent game launches that were nowhere near what they should have been. A great example of this is Diablo 4 releasing from just this last June. The hype leading up to Diablo 4 was insane, but just 4 short months, it is barely found being streamed on Twitch, and with recent launches of games like Baldur's Gate 3 and Starfield, it's made it almost completely forgettable. And also another example is the fiasco that was Overwatch 2 and its failure. Blizzard is a hurting brand that has not only dropped the ball on major franchise cornerstones, but also within its own company. You might remember just a few years ago in 2021, Activision Blizzard was alleged to have a very toxic frat boy culture with regular sexual harassment and discrimination issues. So there's a lot of repair and trust building that needs to be done with the Blizzard company name and some of their major titles, but it's nothing you can't band-aid with a big old Microsoft sticker slapped across the top. right? But overall, this acquisition is going to be very interesting to watch and participate in as a gamer. This is Microsoft's largest acquisition ever, and it even overshadows both the Bethesda and LinkedIn purchases in recent years combined. And through things like partnerships with Meta bringing Game Pass to the Quest 3, I hope that we can see some really cool stuff come out of it. But I do want to ask you as the viewer, do you think this acquisition is good for gaming, and are you worried or looking forward to it? Let me know down in the comments, as I'll be right there with you discussing it and chatting. But thank you so much for your time today, and I really appreciate you spending some of your day with me. Again, I'm Corey with Freaky Tech Reviews. I'll see you next time.